Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. Today we'll be running through our upcoming project at Canberra Crescent that is going to be launching very soon. We are here to provide you with some details as well as address some concerns that we hear on the ground from our buyers who are looking to purchase this project once it's launched.
More importantly, right, for those who are looking to purchase or potentially look into this area, this analysis video is something that you definitely don't want to miss out because we will be going through a lot in details in terms of what are the layout that you should go for, at what price point should you go for this project, and at what price point should you sort of walk away from it. Without further ado, let us run through this project in detail with you guys.
Okay, so for Canberra Crescent residences, first we would like to look in the location itself because I think this location itself has a lot of projects that have already come by, especially Water Gardens, Commodore, as well as a couple of ECs that have already reached their MOP, right? But within our Canberra Crescent location itself, we are situated along Sembawang Road. We have a bulk of amenities that are around us. So being one of the last few plots in an estate where I think many people has already considered upgrading into, we want to look at our location and how it favors you as a buyer, right? So Canberra Crescent, our plot is actually located right here. It's in between Sembawang MRT as well as Canberra MRT, which is both around 10 minutes away from the plot itself. So as a resident here, you can expect to have options in terms of MRT stations to go to. More importantly, as a buyer who is looking to buy into this project, something you want to look into is amenities. So over here, we have key amenities like a Sheng Siong supermarket, Bukit Canberra, Hawker Centre, which is newly open, Canberra Plaza, which is, I think, a place where a lot of Canberra residents, our clients, have been frequently visiting in terms of their day-to-day necessities as well as grocery shopping. Right. Another two very traditional or rather famous malls that we know of, Sun Plaza as well as Sembawang Shopping Centre, where a lot of recreational activities are available as well as enrichment centres, which is important for you parents out there. As for schools wise, I think the list speaks for itself. There's plenty of selection if you're a parent looking to enroll your children into a nearby school at Canberra Crescent residences. For this development, it is developed by King Leong, who also developed Water Gardens at Canberra. The project will comprise of 376 units spanning across 4 12-story residential towers. The Sky Garden located at Block 55 and 57 as well. So if you're looking for leisure time over the weekends, you can go there and hang out. For younger parents, there's also a childcare center located within the development itself at Block 51 at Level 1. So if you are commuting to work, you can just drop your children there and you're rest assured you can come home safely inside the development to pick them up. Okay, next we are moving on to the site plan. If you can see here, most of our units are actually facing towards the north side, which is also good for you in terms of our residents staying here because the heat that will be in the unit will be minimized by our facing because we are not direct west facing. Aside from that, what you might want to know is also towards the north of the project, we are actually looking at landed properties, and towards the south of the project, we are looking at a HDB estate. This might be an important factor to note because each of these spacing will have its own price tag to look at when you are looking to purchase at Canberra Crescent residences. Next, moving on to the unit mix, you can look at the ratio here. I feel this is a very healthy ratio when it comes to someone who is looking to buy for own stay. Because you can see here, the developer is actually targeting people who are looking to buy for their stay instead of investment. If you look here, the ratio is about 25%, which is 1 to 2 bedrooms, then 75% for 3 and 4 bedrooms. So you can see heavy bulk of the units here are actually targeted at people who have families looking to move into a condo from maybe their MOP, Canberra, HDBs, and look to build their family from here.
Now, one of the main concerns as a buyer buying into a condo into this area, right, would be that because this area, if you were to see the map, there is actually a lot of resale ECs surrounding you. Okay, so if I'm a buyer, my main concern coming to this area is if today, if I were to buy Canberra Crescent at $2,000 per square foot, whereas nearby ECs is transacting about $1,500 to $1,600 per square foot, in the future, will my buyers be still willing to pay me $2,300 or $2,400 per square foot, a premium as compared to what the other resale ECs would be transacting at in the future? Okay, so this is a very key question that we also want to find out, which in the next analysis, we will share a little bit more with you. Okay. Another area in Singapore today, right, where we know a lot of ECs are built around would be Punggol area. Okay, so if you were to go and take a look at Punggol ECs as well as the condo, right, here are two examples. You can see very clearly that if you were to take a look at Privé and River Isle, if you realize both of them are transacting at very close per square feet of about 1,600. Okay, so in this area, why is the resale EC and the condo transacting at the same price? Right? And taking this location, does it also mean that Canberra itself, in the future, right, buyers will rather pay for the resale EC than the actual condo pricing? If you were to take a look at another location, here we have nearer to Sengkang, Hougang area, we got Riverfront and also Heron Bay. In this location, however, what we see is that both locations are very similar to one another. But over here for Heron Bay, their per square foot is transacting between $1,400 to $1,500 per square foot. But within the same location, right, why are people still willing to pay for Riverfront, which is a full-fledged condo, at $1,800 to $1,900 per square foot. Okay, so over here we see a very, very different story, because over here your condo is able to transact at a premium as compared to the resale EC of about $400 to $500 per square foot. So this is something that we need to understand. Why is this the case? And for Canberra, is it also something similar to what we see here in Riverfront and Heron Bay? If you can see Water Gardens' most recent transaction, people are already paying $1,700 to even $1,800 per square foot for the units in Water Gardens. Whereas if you were to see the nearby ECs, right, they are still transacting about $1,400 to $1,500. Okay, this means again in Canberra area, for the condos, they are transacting at a premium as compared to your resale EC. Honestly, as a resale buyer on the ground today, you will not care whether or not this condo is a resale EC or a condo. Because if the buyers do not go and see the actual project information, they will not be able to tell. The only thing that will set a condo apart from the resale EC is provided that the condo does have a distinct value proposition between itself and the surrounding resale ECs. And most of the time, right, how do the buyers know the distinct value proposition? Actually, it all comes down to the build quality, the facade, and the overall feeling of the entire condo, right, to determine whether or not the buyers are willing to pay a premium for your condo as compared to the resale EC. So if today, right, your condo is built very similar to the nearby ECs, there is no reason why the buyers should pay a premium for your unit or for this particular development as compared to the ECs nearby.
So with that said, I think we always have to look at the developer, because if you are talking about the value proposition, which is a build quality, we must look at the developer's track record. For King Leong themselves, they are actually the developers of Water Gardens at Canberra. Of course, we are not sure how the build quality is going to be like, but taking reference from Water Gardens, the developer has done a good job in doing up this project, which is why they commanded this price difference from the resale EC counterparts in the same area. If you have the opportunity, I would suggest for you to go down to Water Gardens to take a look at the development itself. From there, you may be able to get an idea of why there's such a premium in terms of the price. With the developer's track record as well as the project at Water Gardens at Canberra, we believe that Canberra Crescent Residences stands a chance if you're looking to sell at a premium when it comes time to exit. Of course, we are not saying that it's guaranteed that you'll be selling $300-400 per square foot higher than the other condos in the same area, but here we are actually talking about the possibility of it happening based on the data that is made known to us. If you're looking to exit down the road, it might take some time for you to fetch a good price with all the supply that is surrounding the project.
But with that said, what are some of the opportunities that we are seeing here at Canberra Crescent Residences?
Yeah, I think as a buyer, we are always looking for opportunities to enter. And here, I think we have to look at one very, very important thing, which is the land price that Canberra Crescent actually fetched at the early stages. So if you were to do some comparisons, over here, the land cost of Canberra Crescent was actually $793 per square foot per plot ratio, comparing ourselves to two other plots of land at Tampines, as well as Jalan Loyang Besar, which is both at the east side. More importantly, we want to note that these are EC sites located in the east, right? But the price point of these two sites are actually $729 as well as $768 per square foot per plot ratio. So what does this mean for us at Canberra Crescent Residences? This is a normal privatized condominium priced at similar, if not just slightly higher per square foot in terms of their price point, comparing to two EC sites, which are meant to be affordable to begin with. So with such a narrow price gap between our plot of land versus the other two EC plots, is there an opportunity that we can fetch here in this project where I think the price might be very, very attractive for buyers like yourself who are looking to buy into a normal privatized condo? With that said, looking at the comparisons of the EC launches that happened recently at Novo Place as well as Aureal of Tampines, we noticed that the per square foot has already reached $1,800 close to $1,900 per square foot. And if you're a buyer looking to buy a normal condominium that is new today, if the price point is around $1,900 to $2,000 per square foot, we see that there's very little supply of such units out there, and it might be an opportunity that is hard to come by down the road, considering land prices are slowly increasing.
With that said, this is the official guide price that has already been released by the developer as of the time of this recording. For our one bedder, it is going to be starting from $2,150 per square foot. For two bedders, $1,950 per square foot. And 3 and 4 bedders, both $1,920 and $1,880 per square foot. Of course, later on, as we share with you guys more in terms of the layout and the details, we will also be touching on the price point itself, and also at which price point do we feel that it is very safe for you as a buyer to enter. Moving on, let us now go into the layout analysis. And for buyers who are really considering to buy a unit here, be it a 2, 3 or even 4 bedders, this portion is something that you really do not want to miss out. Okay, starting with our one bedroom analysis, honestly, we won't be touching much because here there is only 3 units available. But one thing you want to take note is our one bedder is actually starting from $880,000. But all these 3 units, to take note, right, they will just all be on level 1, which I believe for the 3 units, it's going to be the same price. Honestly, nothing much for us to say much about the one bedder here. But right now, in the new launch market, anything below $900,000, literally you cannot find anything to purchase. If you do have a tight budget and you really are looking to buy something in the new launch market, this is something that you might want to consider going for. Moving on, now let us talk about the 2-bedroom analysis. Okay, just now, right, when we were sharing in terms of the supply of the units in Canberra, we did mention that the supply is very high. When it comes to selling, it might become a problem because there might be too many competition in this area. Okay, but then again, when it comes down to 2-beders, right, because the surrounding are a lot of ECs, usually, right, ECs, we don't see a lot of 2-beders, right? So in this case, for a 2-beders in Canberra Crescent, you don't have to worry too much in terms of the supply itself, because over here, if you can see, right, this is the summarized table on the amount of 2-beders that is available in Canberra area. You can see that total, that we only have 15% of the total supply, which is 2-bedroom. However, supply is just one side of the story. Of course, you will need to consider the demand for your 2-beders also, especially the layouts that you're going for. So moving on to the available layouts, first we have 2-bed, 1-bath, a 570 square feet unit. This is a very, very standard dumbbell layout. It comes with an open kitchen with both bedrooms on either side of the living room. Okay. For this particular layout, we only have 2 stacks, 24 units available, and the starting price is $1.11 million. And potentially for the higher floors, right, it might go upwards of $1.2 million. For the 2-bed, 1-bath, they are stack 1 and stack 9, which will both be facing the HDB estates. The next 2-bedroom type will be your 2-bed, 2-bath, 667 square feet. This is also a dumbbell layout, but with the 97 square feet difference, it comes with an L-shaped kitchen with a very small study area over on the right side here, as well as an additional bathroom. So for your 2-bed, 2-bath, there is a total of 6 stacks, 71 units available. You have 4 stacks facing the landed enclave, which may potentially be slightly more expensive than the other facing, and the other 2 stacks will be facing towards the HDB estates. If we take the starting PSF to be estimated at $1,950 per square foot, then the starting price would be around $1.3 million, with the higher floors maybe touching $1.5 million. Of course, for the 2-beders, if your budget is only around 1.1 to 1.2 million, then you can only consider the 2-bed, 1-bath in that case. But if you are able to stretch to 1.3 to 1.4 million, right, then the main question you will ask is, should you consider going for a 2-bed, 2-bath instead of a 2-bed, 1-bath? Okay, because over here, right, potentially you'll be paying $150 to close to $200,000 for just an additional bathroom. And many buyers will think, is this something really worth it or not? So with that, right, let us take a look at some of the analysis that we have done in the nearby area. And we are going to take reference to Water Gardens and compare the performance between the 2-bed, 1-bath as well as the 2-bed, 2-bath. Okay, so over here, right, we have the resale transactions that have already been done in Water Gardens itself. And if we were to summarize all these transactions, it will look something like this. So you can see that the average price of a 2-bed, 1-bath in Water Gardens when they first bought from the developer is around $1.01 million. And for the 2-bed, 2-bath on average is about $300,000 more expensive at $1.33 million. But if we were to compare the average profit that these owners make, on average, right, for your 2-bed, 1-bath, the profit is around $129,000, whereas your 2-bed, 2-bath, the average profit is about $238,000. Okay, so if we were to calculate their ROI, the 2-bed, 1-bath ROI is around 46%, whereas your 2-bed, 2-bath is around 64.3%. So over here, clearly we can see that your 2-bed, 2-bath, definitely the ROI is better. I would say that the reason why your 2-bed, 2-bath would perform better in this area is because surrounding you, right, is all your HDB estates. And for those people who want to upgrade from their 3-room HDB flat, buying a 2-bed, 2-bath would definitely make more sense to them because the layout is very, very similar to what they currently already have. But for them to sacrifice having one less toilet, they may not be very willing to do so. Okay, and because the demand for 2-bed, 2-bath is higher, definitely buyers will also want to pay more for this particular layout. So to end off, right, our preferred choice for 2-bedroom will definitely be the 2-bed, 2-bath. And if you guys, again, are able to stretch your budget to about $1.3 to $1.4 million, our advice would be to go for the 2-bed, 2-bath instead over your 2-bed, 1-bath. Because next time you will likely have an easier time exiting and potentially better ROI as well.
Before going on to the layout analysis, first of all, we want to look at the pricing of the 3-bedrooms first. The main concern of buying a new launch today is that the pricing might be too far from the resale counterparts in the same area. Of course, if you talk about a new launch that is priced much further up compared to its resale counterparts, the risk of you entering as a buyer into that project might be higher compared to one one that is very close. And this is especially crucial for Canberra Crescent residences because we have Water Gardens as a direct competitor in the resale market. When it comes time to TOP at Canberra Crescent residences, Water Gardens will still be a direct competitor in the resale market with its age being relatively young, and the buyers in the market will still compare between the two when it comes time for them to purchase. This is why it's important for us to make sure that we are not overpaying for units at Canberra Crescent residences to ensure that our exit strategy down the road is much safer. So moving on to the layout, first of all, we have to note that this project at Canberra Crescent residences is harmonized compared to its resale counterparts. So we have to account for the difference here. As we are making this video, the highest transacted per square foot at Water Gardens has already reached 1,804 per square foot. And we have to note that this is a non-harmonized project. In this case, for analysis sake, we have added 7% on top of the per square foot to make it even with the harmonized project that we are comparing with, which is our Canberra Crescent residences. If we were to take the indicative price at Canberra Crescent, we see that the starting price is 1,920 per square foot, comparing to Water Gardens, which is at 1,930 per square foot, which is a marginal difference of $10 per square foot. In this case, the question to ask is then, if let's say the price point of a resale and a new is so close, which do you think is the safer product to go for? For us, our opinion is definitely going for the newer one, as we all know that buyers in this area has always been on the lookout for a newer project for the longest time. Of course, based on this chart, our recommendation is, if let's say you were to consider the newer product on the right, which is Canberra Crescent, our margin for safety is around 7%. So if you are buying anything below 7% premium compared to its resale counterpart, we believe that this price point is safe. If you are looking at a price of 2,001 per square foot and up, we feel like the risk will be much higher, and you might want to be a bit careful considering the units that you're looking at. If you were to look at the 3-bedroom compact layout, which is the smallest 3-bedroom available, the size that we are looking at is 797 square feet for both layouts, which are mirror images, so there's no difference in both the layouts. Of course, you talk about size, some might feel that 797 might sound very small. If you were to compare it to a resale project or the past projects that were not harmonized, you will be looking at about 850 square foot or so, which is a very reasonable size to look at when you talk about 3-bedroom compact. Because when we talk about this class of 3-bedroom, we are looking at affordability as the main concern for most buyers. So of course, diving into the layout, we want to look at what we have in the unit itself. Here we have a kitchen tucked away at the entrance, as well as a sizable living to dining area. But more importantly, if you are looking to stay here, you have very evenly distributed bedrooms that are of good size and 9 square meters for both common bedroom 2 and common bedroom 3. The master bedroom is also a good size, where you can fit up to a king or even a queen with side tables at the sides. Alright, but more importantly, something unique about this 3-bedroom layout, you'll notice this is a dumbbell concept, where you have 2 bedrooms and 1 bedroom on each side. And this gives you more functionality and efficiency in your layout because it saves on the walking space onto your bedrooms. So that this is a 3-bedroom, something that we notice that might be of concern to some if you are looking to do heavy cooking in the unit, is that this kitchen itself doesn't actually come with a window, if you can see here. Which also means that if you were to do heavy cooking, the ventilation might not be as great as one that has a window. Quite frankly speaking, this product is still going to be very attractive to many due to its price point, starting from 1.5 to 1.7 million for a 3-bedroom. That is something that we rarely see in today's market, especially in the new launch market. For this 3-bedroom compact unit type, you are facing towards the landed as well as the HDB. Of course, given that the layout is the same, the price might look a little different if you are looking at units facing the landed enclave, as that is a more premium facing. For the 3-bedroom layouts, we have 2 872 square feet units. So first, we want to take a look at the difference between the 797 square feet and the first 872 square feet layout. When you're looking at these 4 units, you might want to be a little careful because if you were to look at the price point here, we are looking at 2,001 to 2,200 per square foot because it's on a higher floor, and that will in return give you a price point of about 1.83 million to 1.92 million. So what does this mean for you? Because the layout, there's only an additional wardrobe space in the master bedroom, this will mean that you are paying $200,000 to $300,000 more just for this additional walk-in wardrobe. And you don't have a choice at selecting anything that is under the top floor, which would mean that your per square foot might be on the higher side as well. So if you were to ask us, we feel that the preferred choice here is definitely the 797 square foot unit because of the marginal difference of additional wardrobe, as well as the choices that you have at the lower floor, which will mean that entry will be much more attractive. We will consider the 797 square foot units instead. Comparing the first 872 square feet layout versus the second one, we will notice a very key difference, which we will say that is really much superior compared to the one that has additional wardrobe space. Why we say so is because here you actually got a very respectable study room that you can turn into a guest room as well as a common bedroom if you want to, but the bed might be a little on the smaller side. Right, but we feel that this will give a little bit more functionality to the layout versus an additional walk-in wardrobe. Of course, the other difference that we see is that there is a window at our kitchen area, as well as a separation of a wet and dry kitchen, which will be very much suitable if you are looking at a family living in this unit. For this 872 square feet layout with the study area, we have one stack that is facing the HDB estate. In Monastery itself, if you are looking at 872 square feet and there's not enough units for you to select, you can also look at the alternative layout at 883 square feet, which has a very slight difference in terms of its foyer space. As you can see here, comparing both foyer space, it's just slightly bigger compared to the 872 square feet layout. But the fortunate thing that we see here in this layout is that we have much more units to select from at 35 units versus the 12 units at stack 15. Right. So for this foyer space, the additional premium you are looking at is about 15 to 20,000, which we feel is still quite marginal as a purchase price if you were to compare to both, right? So if let's say you can't go for the 872 square feet unit, we will suggest for you to consider the 883 square feet unit as well. Okay, so after looking at all the layouts for the 3-bedroom compact units, right, we want to know which one to go for as a buyer. So for us, we suggest for you to consider the 872 square feet and the 883 square feet layout, because at the price difference of 170,000, you are looking at additional window at the kitchen area, as well as a very much functional study area that could be converted into a guest room, a proper study, a helper's room, or anything you like, right? But I think more importantly, you have this additional functional space, which all adds up to make it a very functional living area for a family that's looking to buy into this unit in the resale market down the road.
Moving on, we have 3-bedroom premium, which is 990 square feet. So both of these layout, they are exactly the same, which is just a mirror image. For the 3-bedroom premium layout, there is a total of 5 stacks. 2 of the stacks will be facing towards the landed facing, whereas the other 3 will be facing towards the HDB estates. However, if you were to compare the difference between the 990 square feet 3-bedroom premium to the 3-bedroom compact at 872 or even 883 square feet, you realize that the only difference it really comes in the home shelter. So for your 3-bedroom premium, 990 square feet, you're actually getting just one additional home shelter, and more or less everything else you are getting is the same. The difference in terms of the price will work out to be more than $200,000. Now then the main question is it worth it for you to pay additional $200,000 for a home shelter? Honestly, our professional advice is that with this additional home shelter, we don't feel that paying additional $200,000 is worth it, because the original layout already comes with a study area, which is even more important. Because this study area can act as your yard area or even the storage area, or if let's say you do have a helper, it can be a helper's room. And that is more than enough for a 883 square feet unit. So comparing 3-bedroom premium and the 883 square feet, we definitely feel that 883 square feet is a more value buy. However, if you really feel that this additional home shelter is something that you need for your family, then definitely go for it. So to summarize, this is our preferred layout for all the 3 bedrooms. The first one will definitely be our 883 square feet or the 872 square feet unit, followed by 3-bedroom premium at 990 square feet, and lastly your 797 square feet layout for the 3-bedroom compact. Moving on to the 4-bedroom analysis. Again, if we were to take a look at the price analysis, so comparing to Water Gardens, the highest transacted per square foot there is $1,789 per square foot. However, if we add on the 7% premium for a harmonized project, it will work out to be $1,914 per square foot. Okay. Comparing to Canberra Crescent, right now, the starting PSF is only at $1,880 per square foot. So potentially for buyers looking at 4-bedders in Canberra Crescent, you might be able to get something that is cheaper than what has already been transacted in the nearby resale market. Again, anything within 7% premium, we feel that it is still a very good price that you can enter into. However, anything above 7%, if you are touching $2,100 to $2,200 per square foot, it might get a little bit riskier for you to enter. The first bedroom type that we are looking at for 4-bedders is your 4-bedder compact, which is at 1,163 square feet and 1,172 square feet. So for these two layouts, the difference is also very marginal. It's only inside your foyer space. Difference of 9 square feet is only in a slightly bigger living room, as well as a bigger foyer area. Other than that, both your layouts are exactly the same. For this particular 4-bedroom layout, you can see that you have a study in front of the living room, which means that you also can have the option of hacking this down to have a landscape living. However, with this pillar right in the middle, right, you might not get the same kind of feeling as compared to a normal landscape layout. Other than that, you have a dry and wet kitchen, as well as yard space and home shelter for you to double it as a storage space. Lastly, for your 4-bedroom compact, your bedroom floor is actually 10 square meters. With a Jack and Jill bath attached to it. And price point wise, if we were to take the starting PSF at $1,880 per square foot, for your 1,163 square feet, you are looking at the 4-bedder to start from $2.18 million, and the slightly bigger one to start around $2.2 million. Moving on to our 4-bedroom standard layout at 1,216 square feet. Both of these layouts are exactly the same, and it is about 53 square feet bigger than your 4-bedroom compact layout. However, with this 53 square feet difference, you are actually getting a lot more utility for this particular layout. For your 4-bedroom standard layout with 53 square feet more, you're actually getting a proper landscape layout for your living and dining area, as well as a study area that is connected to your dry kitchen, a bigger master bedroom, and more importantly, right, with this additional space, you are also getting an additional bathroom. So for the 4-bedroom standard layout, it actually comes with 4 bathrooms. So with this additional space, you are likely looking to pay additional about $100,000 more. But with $100,000 more, you are getting a lot more utility for your layout, which we definitely feel that the 4-bedroom standard layout will be a much more preferred choice as compared to your 4-bedroom compact layout.
For the last 4-bedroom layout, which is the 4-bedroom premium layout, it will be standing at 1,324 square feet size. We have 12 units here, but more importantly, we want to know the difference between the current layout versus the others that we have talked about previously. So here, you actually get a deeper balcony space as well as a wider living room space. Additionally, the developer is also giving an additional walk-in wardrobe to your master bath. So these are the key differences from the other 4-bedroom layouts. But if you were to look at the price point here, we are paying about $216,000 more for this layout versus the other layouts that we looked at previously. So the question is then, is these differences worth the $216,000? In our opinion, frankly speaking, because it's so marginal and it doesn't really affect in terms of the functionality and the utility of the space, we feel that the other layouts would favor better versus this layout. But of course, if you appreciate the huge space, even though it's marginal, you'll definitely be getting much more space in this layout at 1,324 square feet. And if you're a fan of walk-in wardrobe, the developer has already built it in for you. If you're a buyer looking at 4-bedroom, we have 2 suggested layouts that you can go for, right? We feel like amongst all the 4-bedroom units, the 1,216 square feet stands to have the most value because you are getting the most amount of functionality out of the price point that you are paying for this particular layout. The alternative that you can consider if the 1,216 square feet is sold out is the 1,163 square foot layout or the 1,172 square foot layout, because both of them are actually the same. Why we say so is because of the same reasons. You are getting very, very good functionality with the household shelter, the yard area, as well as a landscape living option that you can take into account if let's say you were to do away the study. So in terms of space allocation, here everything is usable. You are making every bit of your dollar worth it with this layout. Because if you are someone who is really looking for the bigger space in this project, do go for the 1,324 square feet layout because it's unbeatable compared to the other layouts. But do take note of the premium that you're paying. So with that, we have come to the end of our Canberra Crescent residences run through and analysis. We hope this session has been helpful for you guys in terms of comparing the different products that exist in this project, as well as the key things to take note when it comes to purchasing this new launch. We are very excited for this project as it's most likely going to be the cheapest and most affordable project in 2025.
So if you are looking to purchase Canberra Crescent residence, we wish you all the best for your balloting day and your ballot number. And more importantly, please help us to like, share and subscribe our video and our channel as we will be bringing you more project analysis video down the road. See you in the next one.
Till next time.